Greetings, Raven. Cleric here. I'm here to ask you a question. And that question is, what is Armored Core? To put it another way, what makes an Armored Core game an Armored Core game? The reason I'm asking that question is this. I imagine it has to be different for almost everybody who plays the game or is a major fan of this series. Been thinking about this question a lot lately as I've been revisiting a lot of the older titles for this super secret Armored Core project I've been working on. In fact, I kind of hinted at that tonight on my social media pages. Working on this really cool project. At least I personally think it's really cool. I'm having a blast doing it. I think it's an unexplored thing for the most part in the Armored Core community. There's been hints of it. People have mentioned it a few times in a few places, but it hasn't. I think it hasn't really been properly explored. Now, that being said, when that comes out, I'm a little ways away from it still. I hope you all enjoy it when it happens, and I think people, fans, new and old, will appreciate this greatly. But I'm asking about this question specifically because it came up as part of this project, and it kind of burgeoned me into this project or into this concept because I wanted to ask this question of myself and of other people. So I'm currently working on the next Ravens Roundtable Podcast episode where I'm going to ask the people on the podcast this very question. But I thought about it more and more, and I kind of wanted more input. So I'm making this video to ask this question to you. What makes Armored Core an Armored Core game to you? I want you to answer. So go in the comment section below. Feel free to write a 30-page essay if you want to. And my intention is to kind of read through those, take a look at what everyone's opinions are. I might take some of those and actually pose those as questions or pose as statements to the people joining me on the podcast, and so they can kind of give their opinions on it and kind of reflect on it, or maybe use it as a sounding board, depending on what's being said in the comment section. That way we can kind of get a good feel for everyone else's opinion as far as this topic goes. Because the reason is it has to be very different. I know for a fact it's very different for a lot of people. It's kind of one of those things. I feel like it may kind of depend on what generation of Armored Core you started at. I know me personally opinion, I started since Gen 1. I've been around since the demo disc for the first game. I'm sure that probably, reflects or colors on my glass a little bit as far as how I approach Armored Core a little bit. I'm sure if you started with 4th Gen, for example, a lot of people came in and I actually imagine a huge swath of the fan base came in at 4th Gen, and now an even bigger section of the fan base that people are going back and starting to play older games, so they've beaten Armored Core 6, are going back and playing some of the older ones. The reason I bring this question up is that this is a debate that happens every time a new Armored Core comes out. Every time. I remember when 4th Gen came out, man, the number of people who put on the forums, back then it was forums, it wasn't, it wasn't Discord, it wasn't a thing yet, there wasn't the chat groups, it was, for the most part, it was on forums, and people were like, this is an Armored Core, this is basically Gundam, what is this? They ruined it, they've ruined my favorite game series, what are you thinking, From Software? And I remember there were a lot of people who had that problem. Now the funny thing is, now you're in modern day era, you're in 2024, a lot of people have a lot of fondness of 4th Gen now. It wasn't as fond back then, but it is very much more fun now. So kind of thing with 5th Gen. 5th Gen for the longest time, people who came in on 4th Gen, or people like 3rd Gen, 5th Gen didn't do enough to change 4th Gen's overly speed formula, and 4th Gen people were like, what are you doing making me so slow? And a lot of people kind of hated on 5th Gen. Well, now since 5th Gen, server's been shut down, PC Verdict Day group, which by the way, shout out to the people on the Armored Core Discord who are working on the PC Verdict Day stuff, because there's a lot of amazing stuff going on in there. And working with the regulation patches stuff, and things got removed. So if you have a decent CPU, go ahead and give PC Verdict Day a try. It's actually pretty cool. I did a couple streams of that myself to kind of get re-ingratiated into that side of things, because I've forgotten a lot about 5th Gen. I hadn't played 5th Gen since my PS3 died almost 10 years ago. So it's been a little while since I played 5th Gen. So that being the case, what I wanted to say is, every time a new game comes out, this becomes a discussion, and Armored Core 6 is no different. The problem I have with this is that every Armored Core through different generations was very different. Armored Core 2 was basically a build-on of Armored Core 1. The 2nd generation was very much just an improvement of the original generations. They did a lot of things right and made things better. 3rd Gen just kind of improved on 2nd Gen for the most part, made some things better. What I call 3.5 Gen, with starting with Nexus through Last Raven, improved on that formula even more. Last Raven to me still was kind of peak Armored Core in my personal opinion. And you just have so much going on with that series. When you go from 4th gen from 3rd, 4th is a huge change. 5th gen also made a lot of changes, and 6th gen made even more changes. The series has gone through a long series of evolution since the very beginning. I have a hard time just answering the question of what makes an Armored Core game an Armored Core game, because I feel like it's constantly evolving. So I want to ask that question to you. The reason I got thinking about this question just recently specifically is that I got asked for a Striker 505's video. I'll put a link in the description so you can go to it and take a look at it. He has a lot of different community opinions on what do you think the best part of Armored Core 6 is? What's the worst part of Armored Core 6? What would you wish or change or add for future things for Armored Core series? And my detriment in that was the fact there was no crossplay. The fact there was no crossplay hurts Armored Core 6 more than other games. For example, at the peak of Armored Core 6's usage, playtime, concurrent users. If you were to combine Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam, concurrent player base all at the same time, at the peak of Armored Core 6 player base, and compare that to just the Elden Ring PC player base at the same time almost, the PC side of Elden Ring would probably still be bigger than Armored Core 6. It just would. It was bad because Armored Core is very niche. Even though this is the most popular Armored Core game ever, Armored Core 6, hands down, is the most popular Armored Core game there has been. It's sold way better than I think even From Software kind of expected, to a point based on some of their comments they've made over the last few months. But the reason is, that's probably a big part of why even like Miyazaki, there's been some recent articles people talking about, because Armored Core is probably done at this point. Those who don't know, I talked about news video a little bit. The most recent update, quote unquote, wasn't really an update. It was just a season rank reset, which you pretty much already kind of figured. Even I said in the video, it's probably all it's going to be. We're probably done getting updates for Armored Core 6. So what the game is now is probably what the game's going to be for its lifespan, until we either get a major DLC or Armored Core 6.5, as I like to call it, because like 4 to Answer and 5 to Verdict Day. So let me ask you the question: what makes an Armored Core game an Armored Core game? I want your opinions. I want your thoughts. I want your input. So go in the comment section of this video. Let me know what you think, because I think this debate and discussion is important. I think proper, thorough, thought out, methodical, nuanced discussion is required for this topic specifically. Because I kind of mentioned before earlier about this is not Armored Core. This is not Armored Core. That happens almost every new generation of games. I feel like that just kind of hurts us more than it would hurt other games specifically. The negative feedback loop that happens when a new game comes out and people just start hating on it automatically, and sometimes, in many cases, start hating on it automatically. And I realize I'm not speaking for the whole Armored Core community. I would never pretend to do that. I just see a lot of the vitriol that happens in various places when new games come out that isn't exactly what people were expecting it to be, or it changes too many things from the series it may have been. When you have that much roiling negativity in a small niche community, it hurts it more than it hurts other games. Now, granted, there's always been, I jokingly call it like the Xbox bros. No offense to the Xbox community. I know not everyone's like this. The flamers, the haters, you've always had those kind of people who are like that in the games, who just hate on and are constantly toxic towards the game series. It's funny how often the series people tend to love, or the games people tend to love, tend to be the games that they're most toxic about. You see it a lot with like WoW fans, for example. They're uber toxic about it. They're uber WoW fans. Something about people who really love their games are often very toxic towards it. It seems to be a gamer habit for some, or for many, for whatever reason. I'm not that way, but I know a lot of people are. I feel like it hurts Armored Core more because we're so small. And because we're so small, I think it causes problems. And I think some of that just needs to be a proper discussion. And I think all the cards need to be on the table in front of us so we can properly have this discussion. It doesn't need to be a back and forth in the comment section where, well, you're wrong, or well, you're an idiot. That doesn't help anything. People are entitled or allowed to have their own personal opinions or likes or dislikes of games. They're allowed to. Everyone's allowed to like and dislike certain things. But I do take a little bit of a caveat in that statement, though. I do personally, and I think it's something a lot of people should take issue with, when people try to say, well, this isn't this, because I hate to break it to you, a game is whatever the makers make it. You could say they don't respect, the original, their origins, or their, how the game started, what the fan base wants. You can say all you want. You can say they're not giving the fans what they want. You can say they're abandoning their fan base for its favorite. I think that's a pretty fair criticism. But to say a game isn't really this, because X, Y, or Z reasons. Like, I hate to break it to you, a game series is whatever what the game creators decide to make it. And given how wide-ranging the Armored Core series has been over the years, it's been a wide variety of changes that happened in the series over the years. I think that's a fair point to make. And I think people need to kind of step back a little bit and be a little more nuanced in their approach and how they discuss these kind of things. That's what I want. So if you want to go in and rant in the comment section, by all means, go for it. If you want to write a thesis paper on what you think makes an Armored Core game, more props to you. I will take a look at it and I'll read through it. I want to know, what is Armored Core? I want to know what you think, what makes an Armored Core game an Armored Core game. All right, enough of this. Thank you all for your time. Looking forward to the Super Secret Project. I'm still a little ways away on that one. Once it comes out, I think you really will thoroughly enjoy it. I've been having a ton of fun getting this worked out together. Taking on quite a bit of investigative, kind of almost like journalism a little bit here to get some of this stuff figured out and get some of this information where I want it. And yeah, when that happens, I will let you know, and I think it'll be pretty cool. This is Cleric, signing off.